On creating my film opening, following the conventions of real media products, I decided to create a production logo to put at the beginning. I wanted to create something similar to the production logos of companies such as Summit Entertainment and Working Title, which are quite simple yet very effective. Therefore, my final logo design was not very complex and just consists of the name of the production company, Skyline Productions, and a very simple design underneath. I decided that I was going to set my film opening on the beach on a day where there were not many people around. I made this decision as I felt that the beach, in particular isolated or empty beaches, is a place that many people go to as an escape, as portrayed in films such as the opening of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, or What Happens in Vegas.
It's goddamn freezing on this beach. I'm talking February. Brilliant, Joel. Pages ripped out. Don't remember doing that. It appears this is my first entry in 2 years. Sand is overrated. It's just tiny little rocks.
Therefore, as the genre of my film opening was drama, I decided that the beach would be an ideal location to portray the mood and story that I wanted to create. The main character reflecting upon past events of him being happy, but also thinking about something that is bothering him and that has changed everything. So in this respect, I think that my film followed the conventions of the genre I chose. Within my film opening, I created a narrative that could be considered as being quite non-linear and unconventional compared to well-known films of the same genre. This is because the events seen in the film opening are a mixture of past and present events. If I was intending on making the whole film, the first half or 3/4 would be set in the past, before we see Matthew's character walking near the beach and throwing the flowers, and the rest would go from that point onwards, then resolving the issues he has been having in some way. I think this approach to the narrative may be considered as unconventional in some ways, as many film openings of the drama genre start in one time and stay there for the opening, instead of there being flashback-like shots or sequences throughout the opening. For example, in the film P.S. I Love You, the film starts with a couple having an argument, and this argument lasts for the whole film opening, and only then after the credits do we skip to the present time and realise that the argument was something that happened in the past. My film opening also follows the conventions of real media products in terms of the introduction of a main character and situation. The establishing shot includes the protagonist walking along a pathway by the beach, introducing him early on to the audience. I also have a voiceover of the protagonist talking in the background, which introduces the audience to the situation he is in without giving too much away and leaving some enigmas for the audience to work out. For the soundtrack of my film opening, I used a slow and sustained piece of piano music. It took me a while to decide on what music to use for my film opening because I think that the soundtrack is an extremely important element of a film, as it really helps to create certain moods and atmospheres that words or actions cannot always do. I used this piece of music in particular as I wanted to create a reflective, thoughtful, and almost sad atmosphere to my film opening, and I found that the timbre of the piano, coupled with the slow tempo of the music, really helped to create that particular mood. Both the characters introduced in my film are meant to be around the 17 to 18 age mark. However, I believe that my film opening does not represent this particular social group, teenagers, in a fully reactionary way. This is because of factors such as costume, characters, and dialogue. In my film opening, the male protagonist is wearing a suit holding some flowers, which wouldn't usually be the type of clothes that would normally be associated with teenage boys. We also hear him talking to the audience in the background via the voiceover, and he is talking properly and expressively about deep and meaningful things, which wouldn't really be something that every member of this particular social group would be acting like. However, I do feel that my film opening can also be seen as reactionary because of the camera shot sizes, angles, and movements I used. For instance, there are a few extremely wide shots where Matthew's character is very small and distant in terms of the whole composition, which signifies that he feels like he is on his own in this big world, which is something that many people can feel at this age and gender. I also used a lot of handheld camera movements, which signifies how the character is at unease and is maybe not feeling comfortable in himself or his situation, and is trying to find his way, but isn't quite there yet. giving a reactionary view on teenagers and how they are still trying to find their way and their place in life at the age of 17 and 18, especially as they are the ages where one would start to think more about their future, a scary thought. I think that if my film were to be distributed like that of real media products, it would be distributed by a company such as Studio Canal UK. Studio Canal UK is a distribution company formerly known as Optimum Releasing, and they focus on distributing more independent films that were slightly different to that released by some of the big media conglomerates. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy and WE are among some of the films distributed by this company. I feel like my film would fit into this category and so would be likely to be distributed by a company such as this one. I feel like my film would not be suitable to be distributed by big mainstream distribution companies such as Warner Brothers Digital Distribution or Paramount Pictures, as I feel it isn't completely conventional and so may not fit in with the other films distributed by these companies and therefore may attract the wrong audience. The target audience for my film opening is teenagers and young adults. The kinds of teenagers and young adults that this film would be more specifically targeted at would be ones that are interested in film and drama, as I feel like it is not a completely mainstream film and therefore may be more appealing to teenagers and young adults who are slightly more interested in film than usual. After getting feedback from my audience research upon making my film, I tried to create a storyline that would grip the audience and have some emotional value, helping the audience to connect to the characters and relate or empathise with the situation they are in. To get a better idea of whether I was successful in achieving these aims within my film opening, I asked a few peers that would be included in my target audience to watch my film, and here's the feedback I received. Throughout the process of creating my film opening, I have been able to develop my camera skills further, using settings such as the exposure, focus, and ring set settings. After looking back over the preliminary tasks that I did with Chantel and Gloria, I feel like I have learnt a lot more since then about making a good film opening. For example, I have learnt about the different types of sound in a film: Foley, music, ambient sound, and sound effects, and then putting this into practice by sourcing music and recording Foley sound for my film opening. I feel like I have come a long way since creating our preliminary task to creating my own film opening, and have gained a wider understanding of the film industry in both the technical and theoretical side.